that size, he's every bit of 6'3" and some change. He's 230, 240 pounds, somewhere in there, and he can freaking run like you could never believe. He's super athletic, high football IQ, and he's a great teammate, man. And he has a presence about himself that doesn't really seem like a freshman all the time. I think that's probably the thing I like the most.
How do you know with a freshman? I think I asked you this last spring, just kind of get an update. Like, how do you know when a player's going to go towards like a red shirt route so you can preserve, or hey, like, no, this guy's going to play 8-10 games? What's kind of that process like with Grant or just any other freshman?
My process kind of always is the same. The first thing I do is just evaluate where they are physically. When Grant came in early, so to come in early, straight out of high school, and then come into a college program, the first thing I evaluate is just physically, is he ready? Can he get out there and take on an offensive tackle that's 23 years old? And he does a good job with that. He's still young, still needs to get a little bit stronger, but that's just a natural progression. But then from there, it's just the mental capacity. And he's super intelligent, so I'm not concerned about that at all.
What's it mean to have Dylan back? Not just on the field, but as a leadership standpoint.
Yeah, kind of like I spoke to a minute ago. It means the world to everybody in this building, not just me. The work that guy put in, from the foot injury to the hand injury to now, has been something like I've never seen before. The way he's changed his body, he's driven, man. I don't know if I've seen a guy more driven than him at this point in his career, and he's a phenomenal leader. There's not a better teammate in this building. He's set to have a really good year.
Dylan said that he'd grab you whenever he could just to ask some questions, go over stuff. Like, how did he use his time maybe away from the field?
So, again, Dylan, one thing about him, he kind of has an old man spirit, so it's like, I don't ever think when he leaves this building, it wouldn't shock me if he didn't go home and read a good book and listen to jazz. That's just the kind of guy he is. He handles his business like a man, And so for him, when physically he couldn't do it, he took advantage of every mental thing he could do to gain some type of advantage or just continue to prepare himself. So yes, we spent a lot of time together just on mental things.
What have you seen from Ishkante to this point, from where he started, and what does his impact look like?
Freakishly athletic. Amazing human being. Ish is such a great person. He loves and cares about everybody around him, his family, his teammates, his coaches, and he's just hungry to be great. He came in here and, he has an extremely high football IQ as well. That's one thing that I've been really happy about with our room, with all 11 guys, is their ability to just know the game, or things they don't know, pick up on them really fast, is really impressive collectively as a group.
Obviously, you don't want to lose a guy, but is there a silver lining in the fact that you saw that you had some depth, guys like James stepping in, Malachi Hood, Kanena? Was there kind of a silver lining to that situation?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Like, when you look at this game that we love so much, the one thing that's pretty much guaranteed is an injury is going to happen somewhere. So, as you build your roster, as you build your room, depth is key. And I was so thankful that when Rosie went down, or guys might have gotten banged up, there wasn't anybody in that room I felt comfortable going to. And there might have been some bumps along the way, but I mean, when you look at some of the things we were able to accomplish and still wanting to achieve so much more, having some depth and having some experience mixed in with the right group of young guys that are just young and energetic and hungry, I mean, that mesh was really good, So I think the room is even better now as we're just deeper and more athletic and more experienced, and where we're may lack some experience in certain guys like Grant Bierman and Ish Kante or Jack Paris or Easton Baker. You make up for it with just football players, and if a guy can hunt, we're gonna find a way to use him.
What's going on with Leon? How's he doing? And is he coming off like that he has Big Ten experience? Has he transitioned well to Illinois?
Yeah, Leon's done a great job. Now Leon's technically not in my room, but I spend a lot of time with him, and he's an old veteran guy that has seen it all, has been in the big games, has seen the big stadiums, has some experience. So he's going to be very beneficial for us this year, winning some football games and playing good defense.
Just a rehash, I'm sorry, but how is Dylan a different football player today than he was being helped off the field?
I think the biggest thing with Rosie is, unfortunately, he had to experience how fast this game can be taken away from you know, and so we saw him go down in the Minnesota game last year, and that kind of took the breath out of everybody on the sideline. Then he gets healthy. He looks amazing in the first part of spring. Then he breaks his hand, you know. So he kind of had to deal with some things that was really, really tough for him mentally. But if there's anybody in our room as linebackers that could have handled that, it was him. You know, he handled it like a champ.
And the two of the newcomers, Ish and Grant, they were here in the spring as well. So what did you see from those two and now carrying into fall camp?
Yeah, both of them are freakishly athletic. As younger and experienced players for our program, extremely high football IQs, and they're just really good football players, man. Like it's I tell our guys in our room I started camp with this message. You know, we have our general messaging, but I wanted them to all understand, look around you. There's 11 of you in here. Only 2 can go out there at a time. I have a hard decision to make, and make that decision hard for me. You know, that's the message I gave them. And in the midst of that, the way they support each other, help each other, care about each other, even though in certain situations they're competing, like there's not anything in our room where there's division. You know, and I think as a coach, when you know you have that, it makes you really, really happy about where things could go.
Put you on the spot a little bit, but do you think Grant's a guy who could see the field early?
I mean, we got a long way to go. You know, I'm still in the middle of my evaluation process. He definitely has the ability. He's talented. He's one of the most talented freshmen I've had in a really, really long time. But he's in the middle of a competition, you know, so, and the decisions on that won't be made for another few weeks.
I mean, have you seen, what carryover have you seen from Malachi James, just from last year, stepping into a bigger role and taking it into the season?
The biggest thing that I can tell you right now is just the maturity and the confidence. And when I say maturity, I'm not talking about just them as people. They're extremely mature guys. But I think reps, game experience brings a certain level of game maturity. And, you know, and Malachi will tell you himself, at the beginning of this time last year, he was not a very confident football player. He wasn't. He told me out of his mouth, Coach, I was just hoping to travel and maybe run down on kickoff. You know, and I used to tell him all the time, man, like, hey, man, you're really, really good. You know, but again, he was a guy that was coming back from some injuries and had to overcome some things. And his confidence level, to see KO and just the growth he's had in 1 year, and he's becoming so much more versatile in so many situations, whether it's been a second level linebacker, whether it's been a pass rusher. Like Kanena is going to play some major football for us this year, and then James as well. He wasn't expecting to play probably 500 snaps of defense last year, and then he stepped in there when Rosie went down, and I don't know where we would have been without him. Luke Zarzan. I had no idea Luke Zarzan had never played a defensive snap of football until last year. I assumed he would have helped us. I love that guy, you know, and so I'm excited about our room.
When you have that much experience in your room, up and down, do you find that your meeting room is more of a collaborative process, back and forth with your guys? I know the standard's the standard and the fundamentals are the fundamentals, but do you find that guys like Doriaak or Malachi are coming to you and saying, hey, Coach, can I try this? Or can we try this? Or I see this a little bit better, you know, just because they have the confidence of knowing how this works in a game. So
I tell guys all the time, you know, I'm so thankful, I'm so blessed. This is my 20th year of college football. And I actually just told the guys this morning. My job is to make sure you can perform at the highest level you can. And however we need to get that done, that's how we're going to get it done. Don't adjust to me, I'll adjust to you. So if I verbalize something this way and you think it would help you better if I said it this way, that's what I'm going to do. If we drill something like this and it would hit home a little bit more if we drilled it that way, that's what we're going to do. You know, I'm there as the leader of the room, but my biggest role is to serve those guys, you know, and I take a lot of pride in that.
Curious with Kanena, his pass rush rate is really good. I mean, productive. How have you added that second level linebacker to his game? How has he increased that versatility?
You know, my biggest thing again is just snaps. You know, I challenged him to have some growth, and we walked this journey together, but to have some growth and some things that he hadn't really just done a lot of before I got here. And the best way to do that is have an organized plan, an organized approach, and then give the guy a chance to go get some snaps. and that's where his growth has come from.
I want to go back if I can to like you guys really unveiled sub packages after that second bye week that unlocked a lot of Kanena and Malachi and I know not in your room JoJo. How did that come to be, and what did you like about the way that maximized more of your roster and there were some good results to that?
Oh yeah, I think at the end of the day, when you look at preparing for an opponent or playing football, you go out and you recruit guys, and everybody has different skill sets. You got to find how to get guys on the field. You know, if you have 2 or 3 or 4 guys that are really good at this, but you say, well, dang, we don't have that package. Well, God dang it, create it. You know what I mean? And when we started doing those things, you know, we started putting some things on film that maybe weren't the norm, and it was beneficial for us.
Did that at all challenge you guys as a staff? I mean that in a good way to kind of think outside the box, and this package is something we've got to collaboratively come up with.
Yeah, I mean, we have an unbelievable leader with Coach Henry, and his approach to what he wants to get done, the way he wants to go about it, and just the level of input that he allows us all to have is really, really unique. You know, and so under the umbrella of his leadership, we all kind of just put it together, and when it looked the way he wanted it to, he said, all right, let's go. You know, and so that's how that process was able to happen.
I know you can't talk about unsigned kids specifically, but something's clicking with recruiting, right? So what is it that these kids are buying into, you think?
I say the same thing all the time, you know, and of course winning helps, but I think we have a staff that does an unbelievable job with just the relationships in recruiting. Like, it's, when you look at NIL and revenue share and all those things play a factor, right? But when everybody has that, it still comes down to it still comes down to relationships. You know, we've got some guys that are committed to us that had a lot of interest from a lot of other places, and we just take pride in building relationships, you know, and trying to do what we need to do and be genuine. So,
Was it a goal to get a deeper dive into the state of Texas?
you know, I have some roots there. I have, you know, all of my career, I've recruited that state. You know, you can fly into Champaign and be in Dallas in an hour and a half.
So Coach B now.
So it only makes sense. And so, you know, between myself, Coach Stepp, you know, Coach Ward goes down to Houston quite a bit. I had Coach Henry down there with me this past cycle. You know, there hasn't been a day that I've walked through the Dallas or Houston airport and hadn't heard somebody scream ILL. You know, and that's so fun to experience.
I think I know.